Hello, pre-calculus students. Here I'm just because of so much of the anxiety, I'm going to just do a full walkthrough of starting at 0. So I log out of my account so I can show you them starting at 0 with no mastery points. And I'm going to go to complete mastery in all 3 of the mastery goals that we have. And so you'll get a good sampling of types of problems on the unit test. So what I'm going to do is start with the unit test and go all the way on through. So I have the unit test, I have paint on the right-hand side, and I have a calculator if I need it. So starting the unit test, we need to find the interval where h is positive. So what we're going to do is analyze each single one, -4 to -3, below the x-axis, not an option. -2 to 0, below the x-axis, not an option. 2 to 3, above the x-axis, so that's the choice. All right. H of t models the height in centimeters. What does h of 160 equals 150 means? Well, that just means h is the height and t is when she was months old. So that means when she was 160 months old, she was 150 centimeters. So when you're 160 months old, she was 150 centimeters. So we read the problem, we thought about it critically, we had an answer, and then when we came up with our answer on our own, we matched the multiple choice that matched with our answer. All right, relative maximum points. This is just being able to see it. Relative maximum points are in those 2 spots. t plus 3 squared plus 5. On which interval does h have a negative rate of change? All right. So if you think about it, this is a parabola that's going to be shifted left 3 and up 5. And that's at the point -3. So we have a negative rate of change any point to the left of -3. So when we go look at that interval, that's going to be all values that are left of negative, in between -infinity and 3. So let's see which interval fulfills that. Well, -4 to -3. That's the only one that is in the interval from -infinity to -3. All other ones do not fit in the interval, so this is our answer. All right. Okay. H of x equals 8x minus 10. So this one notation might mess you up, but really all it's doing is you're saying 8x minus 10 is equal to 62. So 8x minus 10 equals 62. 8x is equal to 72 divided side by 8, and x is equal to 9. For the times tables, we know that 9 times 8 equals 72. So x is equal to 9. All right. So we need to read this and analyze the data. What is the domain? Well, the domain is y. So the domain is the input values. So number of home runs for season y. So seasons, you can't have a fractional season. So I'm going to say integers, because integers are just 1, 2, 3, 4, not 1, 1.1, 1.2. And the reason for that is that integers only count up, if you only count by 1 and 2, you can't have a fractional season. You can only be in season 1 or season 2, okay? What's the appropriate domain? Well, let's look at the season. The season is from 2000 to 2010. So the only seasons in play are 2000 through 2010. So let's look at this one. Well, the only domain here is 2000 through 2010. All intervals where h is decreasing. All right, so let's look at from -4 to -3. Yep, it's decreasing on that interval. Let's look at -2 to 0. -2 to 0, it's increasing. Look at my arrow. So that's no good. From 0 to 2, increasing, no good. So that's the first, A was our only answer. On which interval does h of x have an average rate of change of 0? From 0 to 5, it decreases. From -5 to 0, it increases. From -9 to -5, there's no change, horizontal line. And from 5 to 7, an increase. So the only answer choice is answer choice C. What is the domain of G? The domain is the lowest x value to the highest x value. That's going to be from -7 to 7. The table compares the time at which Jaden got on the bus to school in minutes after 8 a.m. and the duration of the ride in minutes for several different days. Can the duration of the ride be represented as a function of the time Jaden got on the bus? So we make sure each input doesn't appear twice. 20, 25, 18, 22, 30, 20. So here we have 20, 40, and 20, 42. So because we have 2040 and 2042, it's going to have inputs with multiple outputs. That makes it not a function. So I'm going to choose the answer no. Right, for a given input value, the function g outputs a value a to satisfy the following equation. A minus 7 equals 3b plus 2. So think of a as y and b as x, if that helps you think about it. So that just means that a minus 7 equals 3b plus 6, and then that means a is equal to 3b plus 13 because I added 7 to each side. All right, f of t equals 2t minus 3, so f of 7 is going to be 14 minus 3, which is going to be 11. Does the graph represent a function? Passes the vertical line test, so yes. Passes the vertical line test. For all input values in which f of x is equal to 3, choose all answers that apply. X is equal to So when f of x equals 3, right here, that function is going to be valid when f of x equals -3, and that's it. Just when x equals -3, f of x equals 3. When x is -1, f of x is 3. P of n models the price in dollars of a pack of n bulbs at a certain store. When does the price of a pack increase faster? 4, 10, 12. And we have 20, 12, 25, 18. Okay, let's analyze this. From 4 to 10, we have an increase of 6, and then we have an increase of, let's do, so our increase in price is going to be the change in P of n over the change in P. Okay, so how do we look at that? So it's going to be, let's look at the change in P and n. Well, 25 minus 12 is equal to 13, and 10 minus 4 is equal to 6. So we have 13, 6 from 4 to 10. And from 10 to 12, we'll have 12 minus 10. Oh, wait. When we look at our change in P of n, we'll have 28 minus 25, which is equal to 3. And that's over 12 minus 10, which is equal to 2. So we have 3 halves versus 13 sixths. Okay, so 3 halves is going to be equivalent to 9 sixths. And 13 sixths is a bigger change than 9 sixths. So we have a greater change between 4 and 10 light bulbs. Vera made a rectangle using a string that is 40 centimeters long. AW models the area of the rectangle in square centimeters as a function of the rectangle's width. Match each statement with the feature of the graph that most closely corresponds to it. All right. So the W-intercept is when the width of the rectangle is 20 centimeters, it has no area. That is true. Relative maximum or minimum, as the rectangle is extended towards 10 meters, so that doesn't work. But the greatest possible area, the greatest, that means maximum. Let's see if I can manipulate this here. Right here, and increasing as the width of the rectangle is extended towards 10 centimeters, the area grows. Area grows means increasing. So this question really requires you to understand the vocabulary associated with these terms that we have. All right, g of t is equal to 2t minus 5. So that means that what is the domain of g? Well, you're not dividing by 0. You can't divide by 0, take the square root of a negative number, or take the logarithm of 0, or the logarithm of a negative number. So because of this, the domain is going to be all real numbers. All right, f of negative 8, when x is negative 8, f of x is negative 2. That value is negative 2. And when f is 2, when x is 2, g of x is negative 4. All right, so negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. And 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. So that's going to be 6 plus, sorry, that's a 4, by the way, not a y. But so 6 minus 28 is equal to negative 22. All right, the absolute maximum point, that's just the highest y value on the graph. So that's going to be this point right here. There's no y value higher than 5. It's all lower than 5 here and all lower than 5 here. Okay. So if you check this out, we mastered it. And on concavity, you should see that that gets us to level 4. So we're almost at mastered. Let's take the unit test one more time. Let's take the unit test again. And this time I'm not going to explain things as much, but I want you to just watch my answers. You can pause and see my work as I go at my own pace, okay? So looking at the graph, so wavelength goes beyond 560 nanometers. The human eye becomes less sensitive to it. So that's going to be decreasing interval. Becoming less sensitive after a point, that's a decreasing interval. Okay. All right. Now, the human eye is most sensitive at 560 nanometers. That's most true because that's a maximum. When x is 560 or w is 560, that's when we're at a maximum for sensitivity on the left-hand axis. And the x-intercept at 320 of wavelength is undetectable, which is true. All right, let's check. Boom. K of negative 7 times 10, so that's just going to be negative 70 minus 19, so that's just going to be negative 89. All right, the perimeter is 35. This is rectangle air. What's the average rate which the area decreases when you go from 13 to 16? All right. So when x is 13, all right. When x is 13, y is in between 56 and 50 and 60. So if it's in between 56 and 60, that would be 58. When x is 13, y is 58. Oh, sorry, 1358. So we have 1358 as a point, and then 1624. 1358 and 1624. What's the average rate of change when you go from 58 to 24? Let's figure this out. We have the change in y over the change in x. So we'll have 24 minus 58 over 16 minus 13. Notice how these are matching up. So 24 minus 58. Should be able to do this in my head, but just to show you guys. That's negative 34. And 16 minus 13 is 3. So that's negative 34 over 3. And divide this by 3. I think in the math fract to get the most simplified fraction, so it's going to be negative 34 over 3. All right. Oh, and they have multiple choice answers. So negative 34 over 3, well, 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 11 is 33. So this will be 11 and 1/3. So I'm just converting that fraction to a mixed number. All right. The interval where it's negative, from negative 2 to 1, not negative. From negative 1 to 0, not negative. From 0 to 1, yes, it's below the x-axis. All right, mark the absolute minimum point. That's the lowest y value, so that's that point right there. When g of t is equal to 6t minus 1, essentially we set this up by having 6t minus 1 equals negative 7, so 6t equals negative 6, so t equals negative 1. Yep, because add 1 to each side, negative 6, divide each side by 6, negative 1. Graph represent a function, fails the vertical line test. So no, it's not a function because it fails the vertical line test. Can I draw it here? No, I can't. All right, all the relative minimum points. So this is a relative minimum point. It changes from increasing to decreasing. And this is also a relative minimum point because it changes from increasing to decreasing. F of negative 5 when x is negative 5. F of x is 7. Increasing intervals. From negative 3 to negative 2, the function is increasing. From negative 1.5 to 0, the function is increasing. And then 3.5 to 4.5. Look, negative 1.5 to 0, increasing. And then 3.5 to 4.5, also increasing. Going from here to here, function increases. All right, Aiden is a spice trader. He charges $5 for 1 kilogram of cumin seeds, which is the smallest amount he sells. The largest amount is 1,000 kilograms, which costs 2,000. What is the appropriate domain of P? And I'm going to say real numbers because you can have a fractional weight per cumin seeds. You can have 0.5 kilograms. What is the appropriate domain? So the domain is the price is the output, and the W is the amount of kilograms. The largest amount he can sell is 1,000 kilograms. And the smallest amount he can sell is 1 kilogram. Though maybe he can do less. So let's look at 1,000. So yes, 1 to 1,000. And the reason why that's our domain is because 1,000 kilograms is the largest he can sell, and he'll be willing to sell as low as 1 kilogram. So 1 to 1,000. All right. M of n models the fee in dollars on its nth drive of a certain day. What does the statement M of 10 equals K mean? All right. Means that, so look, so the n is the number of drives per day, and the M of n equals his dollar, okay? So that means that after 10 drives, so it's for his 10th drive, the fee is K dollars, okay? So 10 is our input, number of drives, K is our output, dollars. All right. For f of t is equal to 4t plus 1 over 5 minus 4t. All right, we need to find the domain. We just can't, for the domain here, you just can't have the denominator equal 0. So you have 5 minus 4t cannot equal 0. Subtract 5 from each side. Negative 4t equals, it cannot equal negative 5. So t cannot equal negative 5 over negative 4, which means t cannot equal 5/4. T cannot equal 5/4. That's option D. For which input value in which g of x is equal to 3? Well, when x is 3, f of x is, or g of x, sorry, is 9. So h of u in terms of u, that means v is u and, v is y and u is x. So that just means that, let's get this all on one side. We will have 7u is equal to, add 3, add 3u, add 3u, subtract 8v from each side. So 7u is equal to negative 6v, and we need things in terms of v, so we divide each side by negative 6. So we will have negative 7/6u. Negative 7, oh, negative 7 over 6u. Let me verify this in my head. So add 3 to each side. We have 7u is equal to negative 6v. Get things in terms of v. So 7u divided by negative 6 is negative 7/6u. Okay, that should be right. Good. You can always use the hints. Always use the hints if you get it wrong. All right. Here, f of 7, when x is 7, f of x is negative 1. All right. And then when x is negative 1, g of x is 4. So negative 1 plus 9 is negative 9. So negative 1 times 9 is, wait, sorry. Negative 1 plus 9 is 8. And 8 times 4 is equal to 32. Wait, never mind. Order of operations. This is why you want to be very careful. Let's do this again. 4, order of operations, multiplication force. 9 times 4 is 36. And then f of 7 is negative 1. So 36 minus 1 is 35. 35. Let's check our answer. Okay, it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Even I believe I may have made an algebraic mistake there. Okay, g of that's g of negative 1, not 1. Okay, so I took g of 1, but I had to g of negative 1 is just 1. So that's just going to be 9, and f of 7 is, let's just do 9 minus 1. That's going to be 8. Oh, wait. When x is 7, f of x is negative 1. So that'd be negative 1, and g of negative 1 is 1. So that'd be 9 plus f of 7, negative 1, which should be 8. Here, when x is 7, f of x is negative 1. When x is negative 1, g of x is 1. 9 times 1 is 9, plus negative 1 is 8. What's Oh, there's a 10 there. Oh, okay. Here's why. I was not even looking. I completely misread that 10. All right, so you can still get mastery if you get one wrong. So I was completely misreading that 10, and I also took g of 1 to the negative 1. So you can still get mastery here. Check this out. So there is leeway to make a mistake. All right, reading this. Here we just need to look at different inputs and outputs. 4, 5, 4, 5. Okay, so that's good. We don't have different inputs with different outputs. So 4, 5, 4, 5. Let's look at 2. 2, 9, 2, 9. That's great. So there's no case where we have an inputs with different outputs. So the number of mosquito bites we reference as a function. Yes, this is a function. All right, what is the range? The range is from 9 to negative 4, okay? So the lowest y value is negative 4, and the highest y value is 9. Here, the average rate of change from the interval 2 to 6, when x is 2, y is 2, and when x is 6, y is 9. So to find the rate of change, we try to change y over change x. That's going to be 9 minus 2 over 6 minus 2, which is going to be equal to 7/4. So that's the average rate of change, 7/4. All right. What's the average rate of change over the interval negative 3 to negative 1? Well, when x is negative 3, negative 3 squared is equal to 9, minus 1 is equal to 8. And then 1 squared minus 1 is equal to 1 minus 1 is equal to 0. So our coordinate points are going to be negative 3, 8, and 0, and -3, 8, -1, 0. And find the change in y over change of x. So 0 minus 8 over -1 minus 3 minus -3 is equal to -8 over -1 plus 3, which is going to be 2. So that's -8 over 2. That simplifies just to -4. Okay, so it's okay. Even if you know the math, you can read a problem wrong and make a mistake. All right, so we got everything correct, one thing incorrect. So even though I got one incorrect, that gets me to level 5 mastered. All right. So now the next module that we need to master all right, so that's functions. And now let's look at rational exponents and radicals. All right, so we got to get mastery again. So I'm just going to go straight to the unit test. This will give you a wide assortment of problems that you can get help with. Rewrite the expression in the form a to the n. So that's a to the 2/3 to the -1. So I'm going to rewrite this as a to the 2/3 to the -1. That's going to be equivalent to anything raised to the -1 power. That's equivalent to 1 over a to the 2/3. But we have to be careful what it's asking. It's just asking us to express the form in a to the n. So even though conceptually that's what this is equivalent to when we're reading the question, here's the law of exponents. So we just have to know that a to the n raised to the m power is equal to a to the n times m. So that's the law of exponents. To do this problem, we have to do a to the 2/3 to the -1 power is equal to a to the 2/3 times -1. And you can look at -1 as -1 over 1. So it's going to be equal to a to the -2/3. And so when you get really comfortable with this, you can do this to the head. Do this in your head, but you can just do a to the -2 over 3, a to the -2/3. All right, so the square root of 0.64. All right, so the answer is going to be 0.8, so the answer is 0.8. So the answer is going to be 0.8, but that's just from me memorizing timetables, knowing how decimals works. Don't take my word for it. You have a calculator emulator, the square root of 0.8. Oh, I'm sorry, 0.64. That's 0.8, all right? Okay, we write the expression as a sum of terms where each term is in the form k times a to the n, all right? So at this point, we're going to have to rewrite radicals as fractional square roots. This can be rewritten as a to the 1/2 times 2a squared minus, and then 4 over a can be written as 4 times, or we're written as 4a to the -1, because a to the -1 is equal to 1 over a to the 1, which is equal to 1 over a. All right. So when I'm doing this, a to the 1/2 times 2a squared. Well, we know that that's just going to be 2a to the 3/2. So I'm just adding 1/2 and 2 here. So that's going to become 2a to the 3/2, or 2 to the, well, 2 plus 1/2 is going to be 4/2, 5/2. 2a to the 5/2 minus -1 plus 1/2 is going to be -1/2 minus 4a to the -1/2. So this will be 2a to the 5/2 minus 4a to the -1/2. All right, so let's write this down. All right, good. So this was just really applying the law of exponents in algebra. Always use the hints if you make a mistake. The 4th root of 625. Here, this is a calculator skill, I want you to know. Math, find the x root. So let's go to hit 4. Select that 4, math. Find the x root. Okay, for some reason that's not working. What we can do is 625 to the 1/4 power. 1/4 power 5. The cube root of 125 is 5. That's like, you know that from memorization. 5 times 5 is 25 times 5 is 125. Square root of 98 over 2 to the 1/2. All right. So that means that we're looking at 98 to the 1/2 over 2 to the 1/2. All right. Now, first what we'd like to do is break up 98 and see if there are perfect squares in there. So 45 plus 4 is 49. So 98 is equal to 49 times 2. So the square root of 98 can be simplified as the square root of 49 times 2. And you can rewrite that as the square root of 49 times the square root of 2. And the square root of 49 is equal to 7. This can be rewritten as 7 root 2. All right. When we rewrite this fraction, we can rewrite this as 7, the square root of 2 times 2 to the 1/2 over 2 to the 1/2. And you can see that these 2's to the 1/2 can cancel out, and you'll just have 7. All right. Rewrite this in a radical form. This is going to be t to the 1/3. That's just equivalent to the cube root of t. X to the 1 over n is equivalent to the nth root of x. So cube root of t. All right, write the expression in exponential form. So k to the sixth root of k to the 5. So that's just going to be that the nth root of x to the m is equal to x to the m over n. This would be k to the 5/6. Remove all perfect squares from the square root. Assume that y is positive. So you can rewrite the square root of 200y4 as the square root of 100 times 2 and of times y to the 4th, which is equal to square root of 100 times square root of 2 times square root of y to the 4th. Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of y to the 4th is y squared. This cannot be simplified. So this ultimately becomes 10y squared root 2. Okay? It's going to be 10y squared times the square root of 2. The square root of 9 is 3. You guys, come on, you guys know that. The fifth root of b to the 9 is going to be b to the 9/5. But it could also be, well, let's look at c. b to the 5 to the 1/9. No, I'm sorry. Let me write. I want to break down option C. b to the 5 to the 1/9 power is going to be equal to b to the 5 times 1/9, which is equal to b to the 9/5. So C is also correct. Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's sorry. B to the 5 to the 1/9 is going to be b to the 5/9, but it's only b to the 9/5. So I read that. I just messed up with basic multiplication. All right, so I think it'll allow me to get one wrong. I'll just, if I focus less on explaining, I can be more accurate. 2 times the square root of 7x times 3 times the root of 14x squared. All right, we remove all perfect squares. So here there are no perfect. So the main thing is that we have the square root of x squared is x. So let's rewrite this as 2 times the square root of 7x times, take out that x squared, times 3x times the square root of 14. So that can be rewritten as 6x, and then we have square root of 7x times the square root of 14, which is equal to 7 times 10 is 70, 7 times 4 is 28, so the square root of 98x. And then square root of 98x is equal to the square root of 49 times 2 times x. We can bring out the square root of 49. That becomes a 7. So that becomes 6 times 7 times the square root of 2x. That becomes 42x times the square root of 2x. And so the main thing I did was I took out the x squared. I took out the x squared, which becomes x. I multiplied what was everything on the outside. I multiplied everything on the inside. And then I rewrote 98 as 49 times 2 and took out the 49 as 7. The square root of 20 is going to be square root of 5 times 4, which is square root of 5 times square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so this is going to be 2 root 5. So here, the issue is anything to the 0 is equal to 1. Anything x to the 0 is equal to 1, not 0. So I'm going to say step 3, because 8 to the 0 is not equal to 0, it's going to be equal to 1. So like the equivalent expression, 8 to the negative 2 times 8 to the 7 is equal to 2. So what does that mean? So this is going to be, let's analyze inside the parentheses. So a to the negative 2 squared is going to be a to the negative 4th times 8 to the 14th. Okay, so I've got 14 questions right. Where does it get me on mastery? All right, that got me to level 2. I need to get to level 5. So and take the unit test again. All right, the cube root of 729. This one I don't have memorized, but I should. So 729 to the 1/3 power is 9. All right, that's something I should know. I rewrite the expression in the form b to the n. So this is just 1 over b to the 2/7 is equal to b to the negative 2/7. Okay, so all I'm doing is I can have a negative exponent means 1 over that exponential term. All right, square root of 180. Let's see. Square root 180 is equal to, so we take 180, that's equal to 90 times 2, or 45 times 4, and 45 can be 9 times 5. All right. 9, oh, and 9 times 4 is 36. So 9 times 4 is equal to 36. So not only is, so square root of 180, truly if we do this the right way, it can be written as square root of 36 times 5. And then we can rewrite that as root 36 times root 5. Don't mean that. So that's root 36 is 6, so that's 6 root 5. So 6 root 5. Remove all perfect squares. So 75 is 25 times 3. take out that 25 as a 5. All right, and then the square root of z squared is equal to z. So we have 5z times the square root of 3y. So we took everything outside the square root. What has to stay in is the non-perfect squares. All right, the cube root of 250 over the cube root of 2. Okay, so I guess I'll need to find common cube roots. So let me resume the unit test. So let's look at 5 cubed is 125. 125 times 2 is 250. So when we check this out, we can look at the cube root of 250 as equal to the cube root of 125 times 2, which means that this is equal to the cube root of 125 times the cube root of 2 over the cube root of 2. The cube root of 2 cancels out, and the cube root of 125 is equal to 5. Because 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. All right. 10 times the cube root of z over 2z squared. Break this down. So we're just rewriting this as k times z to the n. All right. So let's break this. Well, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then the cube root of z over z squared that's going to be, first of all, I'm going to write that as z to the 1/3, and law of exponents, x to the n over x to the m is equal to x to the n minus m. And what that means is this is going to be 5z to the 1/3 minus 2. That means it's going to be 5z to the 1/3 minus 2, well, 2/3. So 2 in thirds is going to be 6/3, which is going to be equal to 5z to the 1/3 minus 6/3 is going to be 5/3. 1/3 minus 6/3 is 5/3. 5z to the negative 5/3. So that's going to be 5 times z to the negative 5/3. Great. Write the expression in radical form, a to the 5/6. In radical form, that's going to be just the 6th root of a to the 5th. Pattern recognition, y'all. Pattern recognition. 6th root of a to the 5th. All right, the 5th root of 243. Fifth root of 243. All right. This is one situation where I really don't have. If you don't have your roots memorized, it's acceptable to use your calculator here. So 243 to the 1 over 5 to the 1/5 is equal to 3. 243 to the 1/5 is 3. So I guess that 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. I guess 81 times 3 is 243. All right, move all perfect squares, 112a6. So let's break this down to the square root of 112 times the square root of a to the 6th. The square root of a to the 6th is a cubed. A cubed times a cubed is equal to a to the 6th. And let's look at 112. That's the square root of 50, square root of 56 times 2. The square root of 28 times 4. That's also equal to the square root of 28 is 7 times 4, so 7 times 4 times 4. And so we can actually look at the square root of 112 as the square root of, the most efficient way is 16 times 7. Where's that? That's where the 4 times 4 comes from. But anyways, the square root of, that's written as the square root of 16 times the square root of 7, and the square root of 16 is 4, so that's just 4 root 7. And that's 4a cubed root 7. 4a cubed times the square root of 7. All right, square root of 144 is 12. That's a memorized term. All right, 6th root of t in exponential form, that's just going to be t to the 1 over 6. The square root of 49 over 81, well, the square root of 49 is 7, and the square root of 81 is 9. 7 times 7 is 49. 9 times 9 is 81. All right, v to the negative 1 to the 1/9. Okay. V to the negative 1 to the 1/9 is ultimately going to be equivalent to v to the negative 1 times 1/9, which is equal to v to the negative 1/9. So v to the 1/9 negative 1, that's also going to be equal to, so for a, 1/9 raised to negative 1 power is 1/9 times negative 1, so that's also going to be equal to v to the negative 1/9. So a is an option. For b, the 9th root of v to the negative 1 is just the same thing as v to the 1/9 to the negative 1, so b is going to be it. And then v to the negative 1/9 is option C as well. So we have A, B, and C. Both, all are correct. Select the equivalent expression. So 2 to the negative 10th to the 7th power, so this is going to be equal to 2 to the negative 70th over 4 to the 14th. Let's look at our options. Four to the 14th, as you can also look at this as 2 to the 2 to the negative 7 times 4 to the 14th. And you actually 2 to the negative 7th can also be written as 1 over 2 to the 70th. So that could be written as 1 over 2 to the 70th times 4 to the 14th. 5 to the negative 2 is equal to 1 over 5 to the 2. So step 2 is right, and step 3 is right. Let's look. 5 over time to the negative 6 over 5 to the negative 4. That's 5 to the negative 6 minus negative 4. So it seems like he's doing all his steps correctly. Now let's see if there's a did not make a mistake. Neil did not make a mistake. That is correct. A to the m over a to the n is equal to a to the m minus n. All right, let's close this and see where we've gotten to mastery. Okay, all right, so we haven't quite gotten to mastery. Let's see if I can quickly just get to mastery somewhere. 80, 80, 80, 80, 80, 80. All right, so I'm going to take it one more time, but this time I am not going to do explanations. Z times Z times 30z times 35z cubed 1050 z to the fourth. That's going to be z to the third power, and you find the square root of 1050. 1050 divided by 4 times 4. 1050 divided by 25. 42. All right, so square root of 25 is 5, so 5z cubed. 42 divided by 4. It's no go. All right, so 5z cubed root 42. All right, so this is going to be 2x to the fourth times the square root of 5. Just multiply the exponents, so it'll be z to the 6 over 4 to the 6/4. Wait, oh, you add across. I'm sorry. I read that as raising the exponent instead of multiplying two terms. It's going to be 8/4 plus 3/4 is 11/4. Z to the 11/4. Alright, I don't know if I'll get mastered now, but that's okay. I will model the exact amount type of perseverance I want to see from you. That'd be 5 to the I'll be 5 to the 12th times 5 to the 8th, and then 5 to the 12th plus 8 is 5 to the 20th. 5 times 4 is 20. Wait. All right, I think it's none of the above. Here's just a quick calculator trick for those who are actually watching right now. So that you can do 5 to the 3rd times 5 to the 4th, so hard, 5 squared, all to the 4th power. That's equal to that number. And do 25 to the 20th. That's not the same value. And we can do 25 to the 5th to the 4th. And notice that these are not equivalent. All right. It's going to be 1 over x to the 1/4, or 1 over the 4th root of x. That would be 1 over the square root of x to the 4th. So no, none of the above. But wait, actually, that'd be 1 over x to the 4th. No, 1 over the 4th root of x is different from 1 over. C to the 5/7. All right, select the equivalent expression. All right, that would be 6 to the 4 is 36 times 8. 9 times 8 is, or sorry, 9 times 7 is 63. So that should be 2, because, well, actually, is it 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. 5th root of 1 over 32nd should be 1/2. Because what multiplied 5 times? That. All right, 6 times 6 is 36. All right. So the cube root of -128 equivalent to the cube root of -64 times 2. 4 times 4. That means that -64 is equal to -4. So this means that cube root of 2 cancels out over 1 over. Not 1 over -4, -1/4. All right. You write the expression in sum of terms where each term is the form k times a to the n. All right. So a to the 1/2 times the square root of a must be 2a to the 5/4 minus, that's 4a to the -1 minus 4a to the -1/2. All right. 2a to the, oh, forgot to, I misput 4 instead of 2. I will take this test again. I will demonstrate square root of 1.96. So I will make sure that oh, 1.4. That's going to be square root of 25 times 4, 25 times 7. That's going to be 5 times the square root of 7. Fifth root of a. All right. Okay, so that did. So once again, I made 3 mistakes over those 3 unit tests. So that can still get you to mastered. All right, the last one is factorization. Let's go to factorization. I'm going to go straight to the unit test. This should I'll break this down. So break the polynomial into a product of 2 binomials. Well, let's just distribute. N squared minus n plus 3n minus 3. So I'm I'm going to show something to you guys on the first one, okay? So this will be n squared plus 2n minus 3, and this can be looking at n minus 1 and n plus 3, because negative 1 and 3 make negative 3, and negative 1 and 3, they multiply to negative 3, but they add to 2. Or you can just say that, oh, what the answer is going to be is n minus 1 times n plus 3. N plus 3. So n plus 3 and n minus 1. X squared plus 6x plus 9. So if we look at x plus 3, x plus 3. Why is that? Because 3 plus 3 equals 6, and 3 times 3 equals 9. X plus 3 and x plus 3. All right. 25 plus 70x plus 49 squared. We need to factor this completely. Well, let's rewrite it the way I like to do it. 49x squared plus 70x plus 25. Here's what we can do. We can look at this 49x squared and say what two things we can factor x squared as x and x, because x times x is x squared. So the square root of x squared is x. We also look at 49 and say you can break down 49. The only way to break it down is 7 and 7. And now we have to look at 25. Well, the only way to really multiply to 25, that's going to be, let's try 5 and 5. Well, 7x times 7x, that's 7x squared. And then 7x times 5 is going to be plus 35x. 5 times 7x is going to be plus 35x. And then 5 times 5 is going to be 25. The last step is we have 7x squared. 35 plus 35 is plus 70x plus 25. So that kind of shows you the work there. 7x plus 5. 7x plus 5. 7x plus 5 squared. I hope they like this notation. All right. Factor is a product of two binomials. X squared plus 10x plus 24. All right. So x squared plus 10x plus 24. We has to multiply to 24 and add to 10. So let's look at x plus 6 and x plus 4. Well, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 plus 4 is 10. So that should work. X plus 6 and x plus 4. All right, factor completely. P squared plus 7pq minus 18q squared. P squared, okay. So let's look at negative 18q squared. All right, well, no. There's a better way to do this. I'm sorry. So we have to look at what we need to do is essentially break things down into what we need to have in our terms. P squared is broken down as P and P, all right? And now we need to look at what's going to be break up negative 18q squared. In order to get negative 18q squared, we're definitely going to need a q in our term because q and q make q squared. By the way, that's a q, not a 9. But then to find that negative 18, we need a way to break it up that makes sense, including the 7pq. So let's try out some options. Let's try 6 and 3. So let's do positive 6 and negative 3. Plus 6 minus 3. All right. We're always going to get, in this case, we're always going to have p squared, and we're always going to have that negative 18q squared. But when we do this, we can try different combinations to make this negative 18q squared and see if it gives us that 7pq. So let's see. That's going to be negative 3pq plus 6pq. Well, that's not going to work. But I have a hunch we need to find two numbers that multiply to 18, negative 18, and add to 7. And I think, to me, what pops out is negative 9 and positive 2. So if we do p plus 2q and p minus 9q, so that's a 9, that's a q. Oh, I'm sorry, p plus 9, p minus 2, so that would be p minus 2q and p plus 9q, all right? P minus 2q and p plus 9q. All right, so this can be written as just x minus 5 and x minus 4. Negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20, and negative 5 plus negative 4 is equal to negative 9. All right, factor completely. 16x squared minus 81. So this is a case of a squared minus b squared is equal to a plus b times a minus b. All right, this is going to be 4x minus 9 and 4x plus 9. For 4x minus 9 and 4x plus 9. All right, 24x to the fifth as 8x cubed times 3x squared. All right, so that's right. 24x to the fifth as 4x times 6x to the fourth. I say they both factored it correctly. 6 times 4 is 24, and x times x to the fourth is x to the fifth. And 8 times 3 is 24, and x to the third times x squared is also x to the fifth. So they both did this correctly. All right, let's break this down one down again, okay? In order to get the 9m and the 25n squared, so 9m squared and 25n squared, that's going to have to be broken down as, well, the 9m squared is just going to be 3m. And the 25n squared is going to have to be 5n. All right. So the 3m is the only logical way to break down 9m squared, and 25n squared is the only real logical way to break down 25n squared. But let's see, does this work? So 3m times 3m is 9m squared. Then 3 times 5n is 15mn plus 15mn. 5n times 3m is also 15mn. And then 5n times plus 5n is going to be plus 25n squared. And 15mn plus 15mn is 30mn. So we can break this down as 3m plus 5. So 3m plus 5n, and anything multiplied by itself is squared. So we can write this as such. Greatest common factor of 6a, 8a squared, and 14. Well, the only real factor here is going to be the greatest factor here is going to be 2a. So that will give us 3a. So that would just give us 3 and 4a. But here, there's no a, so the only factor here is going to be 2. 2. Wait. Why won't it let me? Oh, it has to think I'm in draw mode, right? 2. So this is true. K plus 5 times k minus 5 is k squared minus 25. Eleanor says that k minus 5 is a factor, which is true. It is a factor. And it says k minus squared minus 25 is divisible by k plus 5. Well, that's true as well. So they're both right. Factor completely. So when you have a factor when it's greater than 1, we'll have 2x and x, and we need to break down 3. So we need to get down positive 3, and this is positive, so logically this is probably going to be positive as well, while they're going to have 3 and 1 or 1 and 3. I'm going to choose 3 and 1. The reason why I'm choosing 1 and 3. The reason why I'm choosing 1 and 3 is because if the 3 is in this term, it's going to be multiplied by 2 to get that middle term. Let's try this out. 2x times x. 2x squared. 2x times 3 plus 6x. 1 times x plus x. 1 times 3 plus 3. 2x squared plus 6x plus x plus 3. The 6x and the x combine to make 7x. So we have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So, long story short, the answer is going to be 2x plus 1 and x plus 3. Are we broadcasting? Yeah, we're broadcasting. All right. Factor the expression as a product of two binomials, a squared minus 3a plus. Okay. So let's. Here I'll have to write things out a little bit, okay? What we're going to do is factor by grouping. A squared and negative 3a, we can factor out an a. If we factor out an a, we'll have a times a minus 3. And for this one, I can factor out 2b plus 2b. And if I factor out the 2b, I can have a minus 3. And so what I actually have here is I can rewrite this term as a term and this term as a term, so I can have a plus 2b times a minus 3. A plus 2b and a minus 3. That's called factoring by grouping. The rectangle below has an area of x squared minus 144 square meters and a length of x plus 12 meters. What expression represents the width of the rectangle? So the way I look at this is the area is the length times the width, so we have x squared minus 144 divided by x plus 12. Another way to write this is saying x plus 12 so that's what we're looking at. I'm not going to teach you how to do polynomial long division. What I can teach you is that another way to say this is x plus 12 times what equals x squared minus 144. Another way to do this is, what if we just take x squared minus 144 and we factor it? Remember, a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. So this could be x plus 12 times x minus 12. So that width has to be x minus 12. Alright. A plus b plus c is equal to negative 9, and x plus y is equal to 8. What is negative 4a plus 6x minus 4c plus 6y minus 4b? Let's break this down. A plus b plus c is negative 9. X plus y is equal to 8. Alright. So let's see. We have 4a, 4b, and 4c. Alright. So that means that we have negative 4. So what we can do is we can rewrite this as negative 4 times a plus b plus c. And then we can factor out the 6 here, and we can rewrite this as 6 plus 6 times x plus y. And so I'm going to rewrite this as -4 times -9 plus 6 times 8. So 9 times 4 is 36. So this is 36 plus 48. So 30 plus 36 plus 48. Let's do some old-fashioned mathematics. 6 plus 8 is 12. Carry the 1. That'll be 82. Oh, sorry. 82. 48, 58, 68, 7. Oh, 84. I'm sorry. 6 plus 8 is 14. Yep. 48, 58, 68, 78, 80, 84. All right. The area in square meters A of a yard is given by the expression A equals x to the fourth plus 18x squared plus 81, where x is a positive integer. Write the two expressions as a product that equals the area. Essentially, we need to factor this. So we can do, looks like a quadratic, so in order to break down x fourth can be x squared times x squared. So we'll have x squared and x squared in my two terms. And to get 81, that's going to have to be 9 and 9. So x squared plus 9, x squared plus 9. So I get x squared and x squared. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. X squared plus 9 is going to be 9x squared. 9 times x squared is going to be 9x squared. 9 times 9 is 81. So that means 9x squared plus 9x squared is 18x squared. So this should be x squared plus 9, and then the term squared. Wait. Oh. What if I just did? Are they nitpicky about notation? Okay, so that's a very. So I want you, even though I got that wrong, so they just, I need to write these two expressions as a product that equals the area. Expression one. So I couldn't write x squared plus 9 squared. It had the x squared plus 9 plus x squared plus 9. But that's still mathematically equivalent. I might write report a problem that says I wrote down x squared plus 9 squared and it counted problem as incorrect. So I'd say that might be a typo on their end. All right, let's show that summary. So didn't get everything right, but that's okay. Let's see how that gets us to master. All right, that gets us to level 2. And we need to get to level 5. All right, let's just take the unit test again. If x minus 7 is a factor, so x squared minus 15x plus 56, and we have x minus 7 as a factor, so we'll have x as another factor. So we need 7, negative 7, x minus 8, negative 7 times negative 8 equals negative 56. And then negative 7 times x and negative 8 times x will combine to make 15x. So our width is going to be x minus 8. x squared plus 9x minus 20. I believe I already did this one in the last one, so that'll just be x minus 4, x minus 5. All right, factor completely. So square root of 25d8 is going to be 5d to the fourth. All right, and then the only way to get negative 64 is 8, positive 8 or negative 8. This time we're going to do negative 8 minus 8, and then we'll have 5d to the fourth. I'll be extra careful this time. Minus 8. Let's see. So it counts that as correct. Here, this is actually the exact same problem I had before. So this is x squared. Square root of x to the fourth is x squared. Square root of 81 is 9 times x squared plus 9. Double check the middle term. X squared plus 9 is 9x squared. X squared plus 9 is 9x squared. 9x squared plus 9x squared is 18x squared. X squared minus 16x plus 64. What represents the length of one side? So essentially we need to factor this. So factor, this is x, this would be x plus 8. And this is a square, because we're looking for the length of one side. X squared, x times x is x squared, 8 times 8 is 64, 8x plus 8x is 16x. Oh, no, sorry, this would be x minus 8. I'm sorry. This would be x minus 8. The reason why it's x minus 8 is that x squared minus 8x. Okay? Sorry. The reason why it's x minus 8 is that x squared times x squared, x times x is x squared. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x. What is the width of the rectangle? Nah, fam. Okay, sorry. So 4x squared y3. So 4 times 2 is 8. X squared times x cubed is x to the fifth. Y cubed times 1 is y cubed. So 2x cubed times 1 is 2x cubed. What are all the which monomials or factors of negative 18b to the fifth? Well, 4 doesn't multiply into 18, and neither does 5, so I'm going to say none of the above. Factor the quadratic completely, so here we'll have, to make 8x squared, we'll need to break down that 8 somehow. So let's try, first we can try 8x and x, and then we can try negative 5 and positive 1. Let's try this. That'd be, so first of all, this is all, we're always going to choose options that'll give us 8x squared at the end on the left hand side and negative 5 on the right hand side, and we're really solving for the middle right here. Let's do 8x times negative 5. That's going to be negative 40x plus x. That's going to be incorrect. And if we do minus 1 plus 5, it's still not going to be the same. So let's try 4 and 2. Now we can try 4x and 2x. Let's try 4x minus 5 plus 1. Well, 4x minus 5 is going to be negative 20x, and 1 times 2x is going to be plus 2x. which is equal to negative 18x. And that's going to match up right here. So this, by guess and check, we've gotten this far, right here. So factoring here is going to be 4x plus 1, 2x minus 5. If 9a plus 8b plus 9c equals negative 9, what is 81c plus 72b plus 81a? All right, so let's check this out. I think we can divide this by 9. Have 9 times 9a plus 8b plus 9c. And this is equal to negative 9. So this is 9 times negative 9. That's equal to negative 81. All right. We need to find the length of where it's 4a plus 5b. So what we need to do is factor here. 12ax minus 28ay plus 15bx minus 35by. Okay, we'll solve it. That's okay. Here, 6, we can factor to 6a. We factor out 6a. Sorry, they're going to want us to factor out 4a. That's okay. We're going to have to factor out 4a. If we factor out 4a, we will get 3x minus, and then 28 divided by 4 is 7, minus 7y. And then here with 15bx minus 35by, so let's factor out 5b plus 5b, 15, that's going to be 3x, and then 35 divided by 5. 35by divided by 5b is going to be negative 35by divided by 5b is going to be negative 7y. So the answer here is going to be 3x minus 7y. Why is that the answer? Because essentially we factored out the width out of this term when we factored by grouping. What's the greatest common factor of 7ab and 8b cubed? Well, the only common term is b. Right, is the product of two binomials. That's going to be x minus 10 and x plus 10. Factor completely, 640 minus 10x squared. So let's break this down. Let me rewrite this just so I can conceptualize this better. 10x squared minus 640a. Well, what we can do is we can factor out a negative 10. We factor out a negative 10. This will become x squared plus 64. But that's not as easily factored if we just factor out a 10, and we'll have so it'd be x squared plus 64. Now this is tricky because x squared plus 64 is not the same thing as x squared minus 64. And so here I think you cannot factor this any further because this is not equivalent to x squared minus 64. Now x squared minus 64, that could be x plus 8 and x minus 8. But here, x squared plus 64, you can't do anything with it. So I'd write this just as negative 10 times x squared plus 64. All right, so I got one wrong again. So this is 10. Oh, okay. Okay, so by honest mistake, if I rewrote this as negative 10 and I kept it in the same order as 64 minus x squared. It's actually, no, if I do negative 10, that would be negative 64 plus x squared, right? That should be x squared minus 64, and that would be x plus 8, x minus 8. All right. 2x squared minus 32x minus 128. So we'll have 2x squared minus 32x plus 128. I'm going to factor the 2 here. 2 times x squared minus 16x plus 64. And this is going to be x plus 8. Sorry, 2x squared minus 32x plus 128. So that's be 2 times x squared minus 16x plus 64. All right, this is factor x. X plus 8, x minus 8 won't work. X squared minus 16x plus 64. This becomes x plus 8, x minus 8. So are there two terms that add to negative 16? Sorry. 2 times x minus 8, x minus 8. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. Negative 8 plus negative 8 is negative 16. So it will be 2 x minus 8 and x minus 8. I factor completely. N to the 8th minus 5, n to the 4th minus 6. So here, now you're messing up. Okay. Or to break down n to the 8th, we'll need n to the 4th and n to the 4th. All right, in order to make that negative 5 work, we'll have to have negative 6 and positive 1. And that should make that 5 n to the 4th. Fourth plus 1 and n to the 4th minus 6. When you factor by the greatest common monomial, so that's just going to be, we can take out a 2 and an x. Take out a 2x, we will have 3 x squared plus 4x minus 2. All right, so how did that got me to level 4. So the third time, I'm going to take the unit test again, but I can have less commentary. So I'm going to say neither because wait a second. So this is what it's really asking. It's asking if G and H multiply to n, but they also have to add to 7. The question is, are there factors of 13 that can add to 7? No, there's not. Are there factors of negative 18 that can add to 7? Well, there's positive 9 and negative 2. So prod is the right one. Width, length. So we need to factor this. So the width is the greatest common monomial factor. And so this is the greatest common monomial factor. Greatest common monomial factor right here. Six K squared and 5K plus 1. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15, and negative 7 times negative 6 is positive 42. Negative 32, negative 30, negative 27. Is 70 divisible by 14? Five, yes it is. Okay. So we'll have 14 c squared. All right, the volume in cubic meters of V as a rectangular room is given by the expression V is equal to 162 minus 2B to 6. So we're going to have to factor this in 3 terms, all right? So first we're going to factor out the 2. 2 times, let's see, 160 is going to be 81 minus b to the 6th. And then 81 minus b to the 6th, that can be equal to 2 times 9 minus b cubed, 9 plus b cubed. 2 times 9 minus b cubed and 9 plus b cubed. All right. 20x squared y is equal to c times 10x. So 10x times what makes this 20x squared y? So c is equal to 2x times x is x squared, xy. X plus 4, x minus 4 makes x squared minus 16. X squared minus 6x plus 9, so that'll be x minus 3 and x minus 3. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 36, 84, 49. Factor completely. So this is going to have to be 7. This will have to be 6c plus 7d. And 6c plus 7d. Let's see if this makes sense. 6c squared, 49d squared, and then 7 times 6, 42 plus 42 is 84. But this is going to have to be 6c minus 7d. 6c minus 7d, because negative 7d times negative 7d is also positive 49d squared. And that the two negatives give us a negative sign in the middle. All right. So this is the only way to do this is going to be negative 7x. Let's do minus 9, so it'll be plus 3, and then x minus 3. So we can play around with these numbers. So negative 7x, and x is negative 7x squared. 3 and 3 is negative 9. So this is going to be positive 24x. So this might have to become positive 7x and negative x. Negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. 3 times negative 1 is negative 24. It's going to be x minus 2, x minus 1. The reason why is that is x minus 2, x minus 1. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Negative 2 times plus negative 1 is negative 3. Factor completely. For x squared minus 1, so this would be square root of 4x squared is 2x minus 1. And do 2x plus 1. Well, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. Those 2x and negative 2x cancel out. Divisible. 9. Yes. Yes. A squared. Yes. No. B. Yes. So this would, well, so let's get a possible factor out. 9x plus 10, taking the square root of the n terms. 9x plus 10. 9x times 9x is 81x squared. 10 times 10 is 100. 9 times 10 is 90x. 9 times 10 is 90x. 90x plus 90x is 180x. Factor out of 4 here. 4 times negative. Not only can we can factor out the k squared. 4k squared. That gives us, actually, if we factor negative 4k squared, that might make things even easier. It'll give us k squared minus k squared plus 5k minus 6. So negative 4 divided by 20 is positive 5. 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. And so what adds to 5 and multiplies, so what adds to negative 6 and multiplies to 5, that's going to be k plus 6, k minus 1. Be k plus 6, k minus 1. That's adds 5, multiplies negative 24, so that should be not. So that's not 6 and 4. Is it 12 and 2? 24 and 1. 8 and 3. So that should be x plus 8 and x minus 3. Let's close. Let's see if that gets, okay, that gets us up to mastery. All right. So that is a very long video, but I just want to make sure that if I do something, I'll do it myself, and that should help you show it. But that gives me to mastery